grounding. I'm grounding. So, as the founder and CEO of Order Art House, and more importantly, just as a human being, I recognize, I understand, and I require authentic storytelling from African Americans. You know, for as long as I can remember, pain has been a part of my identity. I've thrived on it. I lived with it. I turned it into some sort of attention economy. My father went to prison very early in my life, spent just under 10 years of my life in prison. My mom was a single mom of 3 by the age of 21. I grew up with a lot of trauma. It was very common in my childhood for us to get evicted from homes, for us to have utilities cut off, trauma. And despite all that, I felt like I grew up in a very nurturing environment. I feel that life was still good to me in the sense that I was rich in love, rich in family. But I always knew that I was different, figuratively and literally. With that pain being such a heavy part of my life, I lived in my head a lot. I read a lot as a child. I was very quiet, but also had this very dark nature in me that was very moody, very emotional, very mysterious, very hidden from myself and the world. And so from the age of 7, I began to write. So yeah, I wrote a lot of short stories. I wrote a lot of plays. I would force my sisters to be in these productions that I would come up with. And it was my way of making sense of the world that didn't make sense to me. At the age of 9, I discovered that I have scoliosis. I have about a 50-degree S-curve. And so everything on my right sits higher than my left. And I've always felt like that was spiritual in a way. You know, we were always told that scoliosis is an idiopathic condition, that it starts in the mind and we don't know where it comes from or that it can't be cured. But I knew that there was something very spiritual about it. Everything right polarity being masculine, everything left polarity being feminine. And so having this right curve, I was always stretching and yearning for that masculine protection in my life that I didn't have. As time has gone on, I've actually begun to crush even more under that weight. And so again, I started pouring myself into storytelling, and it just became a way of escaping from the world. I became a young mom and a young wife, and life came at me fast. I got pregnant at 17, had my son at 18, got married at 18 to my son's dad, and we were 2 young people who were in love, but didn't understand each other, didn't quite know each other, didn't quite know ourselves. And so we hurt each other a lot. I hurt him a lot. And I've had to live with the decisions that I've made over time. I haven't always been honest with myself. I've identified with that pain, and because that became so strong in my identity, I believed myself to be the victim a lot of the times. And I'm not always the victim. In fact, probably more often than not, I am a villain in someone's story. And that's what happens when you don't know yourself, when you don't love yourself, when you don't have compassion for yourself. You end up taking it out on other people. You end up pushing people away. In recent times, I've experienced a lot of that. Hyper-isolation, hyper-vigilance, fear, isolation, just not knowing who I am, not knowing what I want, thinking that this was the way to do things, stay in the books, get the degrees, buy the home, do the things. And I could never figure out why I was always so unhappy, why I've always acquired and gone for things and still can't figure out why I'm not happy. And I've hurt myself a lot in the process of trying to get to know myself. I'm hurting myself now by exposing myself in a way that I never have. But this kind of hurt is a healing hurt. It's like when a tooth grows, or when you pop something back into its socket, or whatever may have you. It's a necessary pain. It's a necessary part of growth that you have to go through in order to understand yourself. I hope that anyone who is struggling with understanding yourself or knowing yourself or believing in yourself, that you start by being honest with yourself. You start by looking in the mirror and deciding that you are enough as you are. You are wonderful, fearfully made, just as you are. Your identity was already determined for you through God, not through things, not through acquisitions, not through property, not through material things, because you were already defined and you're coming into that definition. And I also believe that it evolves over time. You know, what you feel like you wanted or who you thought you were at one point in time can certainly change. And so, I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling. I'm trying to get a hang of this thing. You know, I'm not a content creator, ironically, being a writer. I am a storyteller, first and foremost, through and through, by nature. And so I just want to be honest about my stories, and I hope that in doing this, it'll encourage someone to do the same. I love you. I thank you for listening. And I hope you'll stay. Peace.